Watch. Today, the Morning Watch is sponsored by Bashco, the store that gives you more.
Bashco time! All the things that you need for your home, the price is so low, you will never need a loan at Bashco. At Bashco. Appliances, house with furniture, blocks, east side, linens and glass, at Bashco. We're talking at Bashco. Whether the north or south, in the east and the west, Bashco. All over the must be the best at Bashco. At Bashco. We're talking at Bashco. At Bashco. Giving you more.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live in the First Watch today. Having a change of focus for today, or a different way of looking at the First Watch, we'll be doing a snapshot or snapshots of the news. We'll be looking at various stories and getting comments on them from one of our guests. And in the second watch, unemployment insurance. What's that? Unemployment insurance, what's that? For our social media question, we ask, where are you and how hot is your plot of the earth? Where are you and how hot is your plot of the earth? Share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your response later on in the program, but first, here's our quote.
Today's I quote is from Rick Warren, and it says, "You don't have to compromise convictions to be compassionate."
You don't have to compromise to be compassionate. So I guess you can speak the truth in love.
I guess so.
So I get a mark for that, Mr. Dyer.
Yeah, man, you get five. You get five for that one.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. The First Watch. We'll be back after this break.
Touching lives every day, so many different ways, a part of all you do. Sagicor will make you feel secure, reaching out for more, will always see you through. Reach for more, whatever you're dreaming, whatever your goals, will help you achieve them. You're never alone. Taking care of today's needs, take care of tomorrow's dreams. Every day helping you succeed, that's what Sagicor means. Today's needs, tomorrow's dreams. Sagicor.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on a Bashco. Get it on a Bashco. Bashco. Be everything where you need. Bashco. Quality service guaranteed on a Bashco. Get it on a Bashco that gives you more. Yeah, Bashco. Furniture for your house, and everything for your kitchen, rocks, cups, and more at Bashco. The store that gives you more. Bashco.
Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beads. Its fragrance is so amazing, you have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beads today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the First Watch now. On the Morning Watch, we try to bring to you in-depth and interesting discussions on some of the major news stories of the day, but still so much news gets lost, and rational, for various good and rational reasons. Now, news that we feel should still get some airtime, we will try to address some of that this morning. So we'll be doing a collage of news, as you may want to say, on various matters that pop up on our smartphone devices or laptops, as the case may be, tablets, in the form of news, and of course the television. We will be looking at a couple of things today, things to do in relation to, law, caring for children, the weather, and police related matters in terms of the citizen. We have as our guest this morning to have a discussion on this array of matters, Michael Diamond. He is president of the Consumers Intervention Jamaica, and he's also a lawyer. Mr. Diamond, good morning.
Good morning, Sir Stokeley, and good morning to your listeners.
No, Mr. Diamond, when I realized you'd be a part of this discussion, or you'd be the guest in terms of this discussion, I said, Mr. Diamond is the right person. Mr. Diamond always has a lot of interesting views on a number of things. And the first one I want to turn to is one of great concern for many of us. Mustard seed communities. There is a recent story in one of in the Jamaica Observer. I'll read the headline, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that the contents of the news item are true or false. It's a news report, and the relevant parties can always refute or confirm what is written in it. It's a story by Jason Cross, Observer staff writer. The headline goes as this: rift between Haiti Children, which is an organization, and Mustard Seed, which is another well-known organization, over rescued orphans. I'll read a bit of the story. 3 months after close collaboration between Haiti Children and the Mustard Seed communities resulted in 59 disabled Haitian orphans being rescued from that violence-torn Caribbean nation and brought to Jamaica, a rift has developed between both entities over allegations about the care being given to the children. And there is also talk about accounting for money that is to be used in relation to the care of these children. Michael Diamond, I don't know if you have seen this story. Any thoughts?
Yes, I did get a brief glimpse of the story, and just like you, it's very alarming, especially the fact that these are orphan children that we basically rescued from one terrible situation, only for them to face more trauma. Of course, if the allegations are true. So this is something that I've seen some of the public comments, and individuals are very concerned about these particular accusations. So here we have another opportunity to look at how we can strengthen accountability, especially for organizations, these non-government organizations that are receiving, public and private donations. So this is a very concerning
What I
situation.
also find interesting, Michael, is that the organization Haiti Children appears to want to, as it were, say that Mustard Seed should not be involved. Instead, they would like to deal directly with government entities. And forgive me, but not because it's a religious body, Mustard Seed, or a religious related body, to be, as forensic as I can on the matter. But it kind of struck me. It made me wonder, is it that you might want to not deal with a church-related institution? You don't want to deal directly with the government? Am I stretching it too much? I don't know what your views are, Michael.
No, I'm not siding with that particular idea that perhaps they don't want to deal with a church organization. The fact of the matter is that whenever money is involved, accountability becomes a serious issue. So you'll find that you have organizations actually tussling over whom should control the purse regarding the care of these children. And
Yes.
and I'm also guilty of this, where there are times that we address situations and we just basically we'll just give a donation and close our eyes and just assume that those individuals are responsible enough to carry out our wishes and desires. And that isn't always the case. We really have to be very active in holding individuals accountable and making sure they're doing exactly which, basically they promise that they will do before just simply squandering our money for other reasons. Well, we're speaking about human life here, so it's not just about the money. What about the care of these children? And it would almost appear that based on the fact that they've taken in so many children and these children are also disabled, you know did they really have the capacity to really facilitate the type of care that these children actually need? Like, who's responsible for making that determination?
Well, the person from Haiti Children was very clear in saying that Monsignor Gregory Ramkisoon, who is known to be the founder, of course, well-known founder of Mustard Seed, she says that Monsignor Gregory Ramkisoon is a good man, but she doesn't think he knows what is happening at Jacob's Ladder. That is what she appears to be indicating. Again, we're not casting any stones at Mustard Seed. They are well known for their charitable work. But, back to the issue of accountability in terms of financial resources. If an organization were to give money directly to a government entity, might that not raise other issues and concerns in terms of a non-governmental entity giving money directly to the government? If that were to have occurred, by the way, I don't know if that's what would be contemplated for sure, but if that happened, wouldn't that raise issues of a non-government entity giving money to the government? The government is expected normally to fund its own activities. I don't know if that's your view.
Exactly. Exactly. It definitely would raise concerns because you're an NGO and most of your funding will come from donors. So the fact of the matter is that your donors will clearly have a concern with the fact that you are providing funding to the government, notwithstanding the services that they are supposed to be delivering. But again, where human lives are concerned, we have to be very careful because to find that balance, that even whatever funding may not even be adequate enough to give the support and services needed. So, we have to look to that human capital to see where the shortfall is taking place because these are some very serious accusations.
Very, very, very serious allegations and allegations, as the case may be. And again, we're not coming down on one side or the other. We are discussing the news report, and we wait to hear further from the relevant persons in relation to what has been indicated. Just before we go to the break, Michael Diamond, there is a headline, another headline here. We have Judge says cartel's retrial decision to be handed down no later than July. This is from the 18th of June 2024, and without necessarily focusing on the cartel matter per se, one can raise a concern about the pros and cons of the idea of a retrial. I can tell you that as an attorney at law, I am aware that cases have been retried. Citizens generally know that, but anything that you want to raise in this regard, Michael? Well, you know what, Michael? Let's just go to the break now. We'll come back after the break. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
The Morning Watch is brought to you by Bashko, the store that gives you more. Time is now 7:15 a.m.
In life, the more you have to lose.
The more you love, the more you worry. The more you own, the less you sleep.
The more people rely on you, the more you have on your mind.
I have peace of mind,
Knowing that whatever I own
and whoever I care about are covered by the very best.
With Sagicor Life and Advantage General, get life, health, and general insurance to help you protect what matters most.
The report is out.
What report?
The Constitutional Reform Committee's report of recommendations
Recommendations on what?
on how we move from a monarchy to a republic, of course.
So what's in it?
The creation of the office of president and changes to our parliament. Yes, man. It also includes a new qualification for membership in parliament. I know you want to see that one.
Read the full report at roadtorepublic.mlca.gov.jm.
We are on the road to republic.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch. Our guest is Michael Diamond, President, Consumers Intervention, Jamaica, and he's also a lawyer. And in this first watch, we're looking at snapshots of the news. In the first watch, we looked a little bit at a story in terms of mustard seed communities and the disabled children of Haiti, what's really going on here, denials and accusations. We now turn to the pros and cons of even the idea of a retrial. It's not about cartel, but about the principle, the purpose and validity of a retrial, especially in such cases. Now, a little bit of the story that I made reference to just prior to the break, also in the Observer, but this one dated June 18th, this year. MacDonald Bishop, referring to Justice Marvia MacDonald Bishop in the Court of Appeal, made the announcement following the rebuttal of defense attorneys Isaac Buchanan and John Clark. Addressing the court, MacDonald Bishop said, "Now the hard work is to begin." MacDonald Bishop told the court that the question of a retrial is never an easy matter, especially when a serious offense has been committed and a lengthy time has passed. Michael, your thoughts?
Well, of course, this case, without the particular individuals, would also be the basis of measuring other cases that will be coming forward regarding this retrial, the matter of the retrial. Now,
and again, for the benefit of listeners who may be just joining, it's not about cartel per se, but about the principle. And also, there have been cases in the past of cases being retried. It's not the first. It would have happened if it were to happen in this case.
I mean, absolutely. See, there's this balancing act that needs to occur. For individuals, you do have a constitutional right to be brought to trial within a timely matter. We are speaking of individuals who have sat out for years before they get their day in court. So we've even heard in the Privy Council where they spoke about some of the deficiencies that exist within this particular system. Now, notwithstanding that, justice needs to be served, and justice can be served in many different ways, considering the time that individuals have already spent incarcerated, considering the impact that it will have on community and the public to have another retrial. It's very important. So that's the reason why, of course, a lot of individuals are not necessarily in agreement that, we're going to wait another month to hear a decision, which they expected should have come, shortly after. But nevertheless, this is very important, especially going forward. And it's not just simply a matter of that decision. Is what will we do now to put in place a system that can basically rectify some of these matters that are now being highlighted because of this case?
The case of the juror misconduct, as was highlighted by the Privy Council, is something that I was always concerned about. And You know, one will ask the question, if there were to be a retrial now, how to ensure that you have all the relevant evidence in place in terms of the prosecution side, obviously, to move a case forward. Memories can fade, and will everyone be available? These are questions and concerns which I am not sure anyone sitting down here at the moment in 2024 on this 20th day of June can necessarily say, well, this is exactly how things will play out in the future.
But
It
in
is
remarkably though, Stokely, is the passion for justice. Does it still exist after 13 years, so far removed from when the situation, happened? So that's also a consideration because what we have now, we may have that, yes, it's in the public space, and can you find an impartial jury that can weigh this evidence in such a constructive way to reach an actual fair verdict? Chances, I mean, again, it's like rolling a dice, but nevertheless, I say that justice cannot just simply be based upon, attempting to appease a particular set of individuals. We have to pursue justice for the victims as well and the families of the
I'm
victims.
glad you said that, because someone was murdered.
Absolutely, we're not speaking about
Yes,
justice. We're speaking about, again, the loss of life. And,
yes.
this is something that must be weighed heavily on our society, that we pursue this justice in a fair way. Now, at the same time, we cannot be so blinded in our pursuit that we don't take the relevant things into consideration. For example, are we now burdening the community unduly for something that, based upon what would have occurred if this individual or individuals were serving their sentence without interruption, when would they have been available for any other benefits of doing that? For example, after 13 years, haven't we seen where there have been other murder convictions where their sentence was less? So we have a situation here that, should we take what we already have as a win and move forward, or should we go ahead and pursue this ultimate victory for the sake of reputation? But nevertheless, will justice be served by putting this public again to a
Well,
retrial when
let
in fact
us
the
see.
passions have already died?
Let us see what the Court of Appeal decides in terms of a retrial. We await the decision of the Court of Appeal in this matter. Only because of time, never enough time on the morning watch. I want to switch gears as quickly as we can to two remaining issues. Well, one is weather related, and the other is in terms of how the police interact with citizens. And we have concerns about the heat, and whether Jamaicans are feeling this heat. And we could even look at other things too. We recently had a couple of days ago, what Jamaicans would call, well, it was an earthquake. It was an earthquake. The ground shook. And we are in a hurricane season as well. Let's not forget that. So are we prepared for these sorts of things? And then, of course, we have times when it rains so much that we can hardly manage. The roads are flooded, etc., etc., etc. But the heat and the other related matters. Any comments, Michael Diamond?
Yes, well, we know that climate change is a serious matter. It is happening. We're in hurricane season. We have seen what happens simply in the rain season, that we are not prepared. And what we may have on paper is not necessarily in practice. Jamaica is not prepared for any type of natural or unnatural disasters, whether it be an earthquake or, again, we're in the hurricane season. We are not prepared. We're not prepared on a logistical level, regardless of what is being told to us by government, because we see what happens when it rains. Like anyone else, the moment it begins to rain, you start wondering, how will I make it home? What will the traffic be like? Will there be any diversions of traffic? And imagine if it was a storm, so how would that be treated? So if simple rain we can't manage, we definitely can't manage a hurricane. So now that we're in hurricane season, we always talk about these things now, but are we truly prepared? The answer is no. We're not prepared. The cost of certain items and necessities have gone up. Individual budgets are already stretched thin. So how do you prepare for something when you can't afford it? So we have so much that we need to do, but the little that we can do, is just reassure, shore up our home to make sure that in the event of, what emergency procedures we would like our family members to know and execute and practice just in case. Because our first line of defense is us. We have to be, we have to take our safety first because the government and the authorities, they have enough responsibility as it is, but we can't put everything in their hands. So we have to now, be personally responsible for our safety and the safety of our family.
Every time a discussion like this comes up and climate change emerges as an item, I always ask myself the question. Some of the predictions that have been made, maybe not for Jamaica per se, but globally. We were told that glaciers would be melting and the ice caps would be melting and the polar bears would be dying, but I'm not really seeing the evidence of that. So how does that strike you in terms of, what some will say is climate change always taking place? And it was being called global warming before. It now seems to have a new name. So can you walk us through that a little bit?
Definitely. We do have our skeptics that are not with the doomsday alarmists where climate change is concerned. But yes, the polar caps are melting, and there have been an increase to that in other areas that are immediately affected by that, where there are rising waters. And the fact is that just because it hasn't reached us as yet, let's look at something as simpler. Each summer, we experience the Sahara dust that comes all the way, from.
But is that climate change, or is that just natural weather phenomenon?
No, but that's the thing. It's a part of climate change because of how severe it has gotten over the years. So we are experiencing situations
or is the media giving it more attention?
Well, what I would say is that the media is probably not giving it enough attention, to really dig into it rather than wait until we have a disaster.
Maybe I'm one of the skeptics because I'm not seeing the evidence. But
well, the evidence is actually, visit Elsha. When we visit Elsha, we can see that the sea is coming back for its territory, and that has a lot to do with it as well.
It is alleged that the Earth wasn't always looking the way it did, and the different plates broke away and formed Africa to one side and South America to another side. So was that climate change?
Well, I would definitely say that if we have that evidence, we will certainly be looking.
I'll leave it alone for now because we're literally out of time already on the morning watch. There is a viral video that has been going around with some very disturbing images. Two women, a police woman and a civilian, both female, and then at one point we saw where a male police officer got involved. There was a tussle, and the rights of the citizen. Persons have been wondering about the rights of the citizen and the approach of the police officer, the female police officer, towards the female video. Of course, I believe INDICOM might be making inquiries into the matter, but without necessarily, coming to any conclusions on the morning watch today, because we have seen it just like anyone else. Any thoughts on that, Michael Diamond? I particularly must say I found aspects of the video quite disturbing.
It is quite disturbing. And I would say to our listeners, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you interact with the security forces, the most important thing is to remain calm. Do follow instructions. Being in the streets is not where you are able to advocate for your rights. It's not going to happen there. And once that communication has degraded, the ear of caution will always be on the side of the officers, unfortunately, because they have to protect themselves and also protect anyone else. So once that communication has broken down, you will not be able to talk your way out of it. So the reality of the situation is that when you get to the station, you will get that opportunity. There are things in place to make sure that your rights are protected, but you cannot get that right by fighting the police in the street. That is not going to happen. So it may look good on a video, you may get sympathy of the public, but you will be charged properly. Now, it does not excuse the officers, but the reality of the situation is that they have the authority to question you, to take you in, and you have the right to ascertain what was their reason for doing that. But you cannot do that by fighting and arguing with the police in public. So basically what happened, I'll say, always remain calm, follow the instructions of the officers. If they're going to take you in, comply. When you get to the station, you have your opportunity to hear your grievances and make your complaints and to be formally advised for why you're taken there. But do not engage with the police in such a manner, because you will not win.
I will deliberately leave my comments out of this aspect in relation to that viral video. I saw some very disturbing things, but I want to thank you, Mr. Diamond, for being with us for this segment. The collage of news, the various items that we looked at, various newsworthy things that we looked at, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Thank you so much again for your time and for your thoughts, Michael Diamond. And listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
Anything possible with a little savings in your hand.
The time by Jan Bank is
7:31.
What flavors does Oreo have around the world?
Oreo hot chocolate in Paris.
Oreo cajeta in Mexico.
Here comes Oreo around the world, the promo that takes you on a family trip to taste Oreo flavors around the world. Participate by registering your Oreo package codes on oreopromo.com/JM. Discover more on the website. Oreo, stay playful. Promotion runs from May 10th to July 5th, 2024. Terms and conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on a Bashco. Get it on a Bashco. 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 For everything where you need. Bashco. Quality service guaranteed on a Bashco. Get it on a Bashco that gives you more. Yeah, Bashco. Furniture for your house, and everything for your kitchen, workshops and more at Bashco. The store that gives you more. Bashco.
Wine at your tank, you know wine at your tank. Drive smart, don't ramp. Wine at your tank. If a 87 you pay use, put the 87 in your tank. If you know which fuel you use, vehicle manual find it. Enough car in a Jamaica make for use 87. And a petrol refine. So use the octane for the car where you're driving. And let me tell you some more. If a 87 your vehicle use, you are rev up the savings for sure. Know your tank fuel right, your pocket have a smile. Rev up the savings on every mile. Brought to you by Petrojam, serving Jamaica's energy needs.
When tape diapers are difficult to change, it's time for Pampers Easy Ups with 360 stretchy waistband. They're easy to put on and take off, keeping their skin dry and protected.
Changes are easy with Easy Ups.
Of it follow Grey Sardine, follow the better flavor. Grey Sardine with the chef and the beginner. Follow the pan with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarket, everybody sell it. Do all of them nice. Pass the back, make us shell it.
Pick up Grey Sardines with peppers, vegetable oil, water and olive oil with peppers.
Cook it up, breakfast, lunch or dinner. Shake it out, spice it up, make it simmer. Grey Sardine, yeah, the better flavor. Quick and easy as you print it, ready.
Grey Sardines, follow the better flavor.
A time with double up your savings. These are the books that you've been awaiting. Put in the water, dreams you've been chasing. Double up your savings. Double up.
Save so you can win in the Jan Bank Double Up Your Savings promotion. You could be one of 5 lucky quarterly winners to walk away with double the money you put in your savings account. Conditions apply.
Double up your savings.
Check our website and social media for details. Jan Bank will help you find a way. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have in the Gleaner today, men accused of stealing goods valuing $9 million to return to court July 12th. In the Observer, we have a story of great concern in apostrophes, marked for death. Mother of slain alleged gangster cop says 3 attempts were made on his life in recent times. That story by the Observer's Casey Williams. We have now in Loop Jamaica News, search on for 15-year-old Negro girl gone missing after leaving for school. Too many of these types of stories. I'll read the headline again. Search on for 15-year-old Negril girl gone missing after leaving for school. We hope she's found very shortly. Those and many other stories in our various news sources. Coming up next, we'll read for some of the feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, where are you? And how hot is your plot of the earth? If you haven't done so yet, leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube. Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-9973-125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Is your money idling when it could be thriving? With CIBC Caribbean's fixed deposit offering, you can take charge of your cash. With 50,000 Jamaican to start, choose terms from 30 days to 2 years. Lock in your funds and enjoy premium rates guaranteed to grow your wealth. Whether you're eyeing short or long-term gains, our fixed deposit account puts you firmly in control of your money. Now is the time to open a CIBC fixed deposit account and start earning more today. CIBC, ambitions made real.
75 in smart TV with sound bars that they get them away. Samsung Galaxy smartphone a day. S24 day. Plus 3 grand prize when I get money for splash. $1 million each in a big money cash.
Get trivia prices of data and credit. Switch to Flow or activate any unlimited prepaid plan. Or pay a yard and road bill on time and in full for chances to win. Conditions apply.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on a Bashco. Get it on a Bashco. 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 The everything where you need. Bashco. Quality service guaranteed on a Bashco. Get it on a store that gives you more. Yeah, Bashco. Furniture for your house, and everything for your kitchen, rooms, and more at Bashco. The store that gives you more. Bashco.
Tanya, why you lock up in your ball? Nothing, mommy. He's that husband of yours again, don't it? What him do this time? I just don't like when he's out late and come back home drunk. You stay there. If I did me, I would have cut him 2 bucks. Why you think your father afraid of me, so? Mommy, what kind of foolish advice are you giving Tanya? That's not how you deal with problems in marriage. Tanya, listen to me now. I know exactly what you're going through. And I want us just like you. But guess what? I got help through the marvelous program on Love 101. It happens this Thursday, June 20 at 5:30 p.m. Join Dr. Colleen Beckers and guest counseling psychologist Andre Allen Casey as they will be looking at managing conflicts in marriage right here on Love 101, the family station.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We move right into the second watch, and the government has signed a US $20 million loan agreement with the World Bank for a project that will see the establishment of a national unemployment insurance scheme. Report from a local newspaper said, now, unemployment insurance is a concept that has been in the discussion pool for a while, but it seems to just now be becoming a reality. But for some of us who are just hearing about it, unemployment and insurance in the same sentence may seem odd. How does one have insurance if he or she is not employed? Well, clearly it's possible. What is unemployment insurance and how is it accessed? We have as our guests today to enlighten us as to what unemployment insurance is and how might it operate or how will it operate. We have attorney at law who specializes in labor law, Carla Ann Harris Roper. We also have the Caribbean Employee Relations Expert and Learning Facilitator, Caribbean Society for Human Resource Professionals, CSHRP. They're Brittany Brathwaite. So Brittany Brathwaite and Carla Ann Harris Roper, good morning to you both.
Hi, good morning, Stokeley.
Great having you, Carla and Harris Roper. Brittany Brathwaite.
Thank you for having me.
Great, we're hearing you, both of you. Now, what does unemployment insurance mean and why is it being considered now? I'm tempted to ask Carla and Harris Roper to answer that question, but I think I will ask Brathwaite. Can you let us know what is unemployment insurance and why is it being considered now?
Yeah, it's a technical definition of unemployment insurance.
Oh dear, Brittany Brathwaite, your line is a little bit
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
It's a little unclear. Let's try again.
Yeah, is this better?
Slightly, but there is still some disturbance in the line. While we try to have it resolved, Carla and Harris Roper, would you like to assist us?
Sure. You can hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right. So, simply put, unemployment insurance provides cash benefits to workers who have some work history and would have recently become unemployed. So it's not it's usually intended to be a short-term support mechanism to workers who, through no fault of their own, are out of a job. Um, Generally, it's intended to replace some of your lost income and to provide a cushion until you can find some new employment.
So, Carla and Harris Roper, is it similar to what Americans will call, they're out of a job and so they apply for some sort of welfare or some sort of
Unemployment. They call it unemployment there as well. Very colloquial term.
A colloquial term is to
Yeah.
apply for unemployment.
Mhm.
And they get it for a season, but it doesn't last forever.
That's correct. So the manner in which the scheme operates varies from country to country. And I believe that is proper because no one size fits all. There's no all-encompassing approach. And so there are various theories that underpin any country's decision to institute unemployment insurance, not the least of which is, dependent on if their country is, more of a welfare state. So it can be part of your social safety net program. You can look at it as being an economic tool to enhance macroeconomic stability, because if somebody's not working, there's going to be some press on some other area of the economy. And it can also be contemplated as providing a kind of backdrop. So if you have an employer who is having challenges, once it is that you do have this type of facility in place, it could assist them as part of their thrust to, get their businesses back on track.
Interesting. Brittany Brathwaite, let's try with you again. Brittany Brathwaite.
Yes, hopefully I'm loud and clear now.
Much, much clearer. Why is unemployment insurance being considered at this time?
Yeah, I think unemployment insurance potentially is being considered at this juncture for many reasons. From a policy perspective, there's a lot of value in implementing unemployment insurance in economies where there is high informality. And Jamaica is one of those economies, right? And for context, part of what I do is regional policy. It would probably have an economist as part of this chat in future, but from policy perspective, providing that safety net for a highly informal economy helps the economy eventually to deal with the shocks of unemployment, particularly. Absorb those shocks and recover from those shocks a lot faster. I think when I, really delved into why Jamaica's considering at this time is not just to provide that safety net for the unemployed, because as my colleague said, that is going to be a temporary measure, but this has a multi-pronged effect, right? You're going to have persons
Brittany Brathwaite, only because of time, tell us a little bit about a little bit more about that after we get back from the break.
No problem. No problem.
Just hold that thought one moment. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back to the Morning Watch.
Praise sardine for the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, better the winner. Shop on supermarkets, everybody
Praise
selling.
sardines, follow the better flavor.
The time is
7:45.
Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beads. Its fragrance is so amazing, you have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beads today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
The Ministry of Justice's Legal Aid Council invites you to the Kingston leg of the Legal Aid Fair for Persons with Disabilities, Friday, June 21 at 10 a.m. at the Emancipation Park. Persons living with disabilities will have an opportunity to access justice services such as legal advice, victim support, child diversion, and restorative justice, and many other government services. That's the Legal Aid Fair for Persons with Disabilities, June 21 at 10 a.m. at the Emancipation Park.
MJ, taking justice to the people of Jamaica.
Everybody needs a helping hand, somebody to understand. In the end, we're all human. People living with HIV, no discrimination. Here to support them through. Respect you as usual. Got to protect them too. Protect, accept, and respect people living with HIV. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch, and the topic is unemployment insurance. What's that? Our guests are Carla Ann Harris Roper, attorney at law who specializes in labor law, and Brittany Brathwaite, Caribbean employee relations expert and learning facilitator, Caribbean Society for Human Resource Professionals, CSHRP. Brittany Brathwaite, just before the break, you were responding to the question in relation to why is unemployment insurance being considered now. Please continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So I left off by saying that the approach being taken by Jamaica is really a laudable approach because you're using a multi-pronged approach. So there's not just going to be the support through that unemployment insurance, which is a temporary measure, but the funding will provide the ability to strengthen employment services through Jamaica's labor market information system. So based on what the World Bank funding is supposed to do, it's supposed to provide offline and online services like job counseling, job matching or algorithms, video interviewing, helping enhance the capacity for persons in minority sectors like persons with disabilities to be better connected and being able to find employment sooner. So I think the insurance, when we think about insurance, typically insurance provides some level of payout. So in this form, people will get a benefit, but the insurance is multi-pronged. And I think we have to look at the comprehensive nature of unemployment insurance in this way because it helps people in a bigger and a more lasting way and ultimately helps the economy as well.
You mentioned, among the various things you did mention, that it would provide, I think you said counseling or assisting persons in minority sectors, and you mentioned the disabled. Any other categories?
Yes, that's correct.
Any other categories apart from the disabled?
Well, what I've seen in the World Bank funding document is minorities and the disabled were given, were highlighted. So I can't necessarily speak in a prescriptive way as to whether other minorities have been highlighted, but I'm sure that will come out as you go through your execution with your different state agencies.
And Carla and Harris Roper, how does, in your view, unemployment insurance, support people who are out of work? And let me clarify what I mean by out of work. Out of work could naturally include persons who are in a regular job, where they get a pay slip. But then you can have someone working in a somewhat informal setting where they were just handed cash at the end of the week, and for whatever reason, they are now out of a job. So they don't have any written proof that they're out of a job. They didn't get a letter to say you're out of a job, but they're out of a job. And out of a job for them is as real as being out of a job from an entity where you got a letter to say that you're not out of a job. And you can also have a situation where the person was self-employed. They're in a job, but they own their own job. They are self-employed, and due to circumstances beyond their control, for instance, they're now not able to perform that kind of self-employment. Any comments, Carla and Harris Roper?
Well, obviously the first category, if you will, that you spoke of.
You get a letter to say you're out of a job.
Yeah, it's easiest, but a lot is going to depend. That's why I was grateful that you have Brittany on. She's given a little bit more technical context.
Yes.
A lot is going to depend on the structure that the unemployment insurance scheme that is going to be implemented in Jamaica, what structure it takes, because it's not just that you're out of a job, because this pool of funds that is going to be providing the cash, what I'm hearing from Brittany, because I must confess, I haven't been able to read the loan document as yet. So the specifics are not, I'm not on top of the specifics. But speaking generally, it's not something that just pops out of the sky. There is usually a pool of funds and monies are placed there. In this case, it may be that it is seeded by the World Bank loan, but it's placed there on the basis that you would have been in some sort of employment. So it's either coming in through a deduction, say coming through NIS, or some other funding coming from your previous employer, that gets into a pool which is managed, and then that pool you are able to draw down on it, when it is that you fall out of formal employment. And so in that sense, the person who was in formal employment, it's much easier. I'm also happy to hear that it's not just, oh, you're gonna get these funds and you're on your own. They are gonna help them by using the LMIS, give them guidance in terms of, fixing up their resume, giving them assistance in learning how to go into interviews and so on. So it's a holistic package, which is really trying to get you back in the workforce as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Right? So, but when it comes on to those other informal persons, say someone who is self-employed, certainly for a self-employed person, hopefully there would be some level of registration. Say you register a business name or something like that. And that's really part of the issue, where we have been seeing the government trying very much to shepherd and move people in the direction of some sort of formalization.
Yeah.
Because with that, it's not just about grabbing people for them to pay their taxes. It's about being able to access other benefits, such like your national housing trust benefit, your NIS, for when you get to a point of being pensionable or having a workplace injury, that you can get benefits in those senses. Right? So for those self-employed persons, I would have wanted to think that we were moving the dial much closer to some sort of formalization. So it's not going to be so bad if, say they have an unfortunate event, their workshop burns down and they can't work, for example. It's the people in the middle, the people who are in the wholesales that get in cash, don't have no NIS number, nobody's contributing for them.
Yeah.
Those people, the day laborers, the casual workers,
Yes.
the helpers,
Yes.
those are the people who I think are going to have a little bit more of a challenge.
Yes.
And, a lot more has to be done by the government in terms of, I think, public education, Because it's for many of those people, Stokely, it's not about the tax; they're below the income tax threshold.
Below the threshold, anyway. Yes.
Yeah, so we need to do a better job in letting people appreciate that it's not that we're trying to keep them underfoot and put their thumb on them, but it's for the times when you have these issues and these challenges that you can get some help instead of saying, oh, nobody don't come help us. I don't see me MP putting out something on, what we call it now, putting up some GoFundMe account. And then all of us, instead of having a pool that is going to be able to help you and to structure you to push you forward, everybody is now having these dispersed funds going in all different directions. So it's going to depend a lot on what the structure that they put in place is to manage and to operate the scheme. But it is certainly pointing you to the fact that more formalization will be required.
Interesting. And Brittany Brathwaite, in terms of some of the issues that were, indicated a moment ago, I want to raise two with you. The person who may wish to benefit from unemployment insurance, but wherever they were working, there is no formal letter to say I'm no longer employed here, and there was never a pay slip. Nothing to say that you were really employed at a particular place. You probably just started working and you just continued working. Or the person might have been self-employed. They hire themselves out as a practical nurse. They hire themselves out as a gym instructor. They hire themselves out as someone who teaches you to drive. But something has gone awry in their life and they cannot do that anymore. I don't know if I'm stretching you here a little bit in terms of your knowledge level in this area, Brittany Brathwaite, but was it even contemplated or thought of, Brittany Brathwaite, these scenarios? Because these are real scenarios in a country like Jamaica.
Yeah, I think they're real scenarios, anywhere in the Caribbean. And I'll speak to the experiences that we've had in countries in the Caribbean where we already have national insurance schemes.
Yeah.
As my colleague said, it's very important to consider that all responses to these questions are going to, ultimately be subject to the configuration of your national insurance scheme. If the national insurance scheme is going to be one that hinges entirely on contributions, as most do, if a person has themselves self-employed, or if they are working with somebody who ultimately isn't submitting those contributions, their ability to tap into that scheme is going to be 0 to none, right? That's going to be a very simple answer. In Barbados, in Bahamas, for example, where we have these schemes, in Barbados, our scheme prior to the 2019 pandemic did not conceptualize as part of the self-employed configuration that persons had that unemployment insurance protectionism. And we learned somewhat the hard way that ought to be conceptualized and part of the framework. And therefore, there was a mechanism set up during COVID and post-COVID to facilitate that. My hope is that Jamaica in its execution can take these learning lessons and institute them as they implement their own social protection system. Because if a self-employed person, for example, needs to engage, if a self-employed person, for example, needs to engage in the scheme and they've not been paying in, then that's not going to be feasible, right? We have to recognize that you have to pay in to get out. So technically, that's how insurance works.
Brittany Brathwaite, there's so much more to say, but I think you have outlined for us quite a bit, yourself and Carla and Harris Roper. But of course, we have to wrap the segment at this time because we're just completely and totally out of time. Carla and Harris Roper and Brittany Brathwaite, very interesting conversation. Wish we had a little bit more time, but I think we understand clearly what unemployment insurance is all about. I want to thank both of you for your time and for your thoughts and for being with us in this segment. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again as we look at other topical and controversial issues next week. And of course, visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and all of the Love 101 FM programs. And of course, now on TikTok as well at Love 101 FM Jamaica. And listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app and download it today and stay connected to the family station, Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. Join Reverend Dr. Dylan Toussaint next week as he looks at other topical and controversial issues. I am Stokeley Marsh, and hanging back to Love in the Morning with Chakal.